Muse! Hey! We're getting back into the swing of things, right? I mean, this is, 3 weeks in a row that you and I have had our little conversation? Aw, that's just awesome. Because I love our little conversations. Because, well, they make me feel good about things. They help to remind me that creating art is a pretty magical thing. Now, I want to talk kind of less to you, Muse, and more to maybe myself. And maybe this is me just bouncing ideas or thoughts off of you and see what sticks and see what bounces back on me and splatters my face with a big bunch of disgusting goo. But anyway, here goes. It's hard out there. It really is. And on any given day, it is tempting for any artist out there, including myself, to just toss the old hands up in the air and say, I give. But the truth of the matter is, and this is kind of the hard part. This is the tough love here. Anything truly worth doing isn't always going to be easy. And no one in the history of ever has said art was easy. And there are a lot of reasons why art is easy. For some, art is not easy because they may simply not have the gift of creation. And they may have to work on it very, very hard every day. I had a discussion with someone yesterday that went kind of like this. Sometimes you can have an artist that doesn't really have to work much on something, and then they're given a deadline, right? And 2 days before that deadline, they throw something together and it's brilliant. And then you have the other type of artist who has to struggle a little bit more, and they spend more time with that creation, weeks, maybe months, maybe years with that creation, day after day after day after day. And in the end, what they've created may be brilliant. And although they don't necessarily have the innate skill, they can still create something. And it may not be as good as the artist who has the innate gift. But for some, it's really the process that's important. And the more you practice the process, the better you get with your gift. Or the better you get at having that gift. Or refining that gift. Now, the important part is that regardless of how hard it is, that you work, that you do it. And I've heard from writer after writer after writer over the last year saying, I don't know what to do, I'm giving up. And the reason being, and this is a very, at least from an artistic vantage point, this is a very sad reason. And the reason is their books aren't selling. No one is buying them. And there are a lot of reasons for this. Number one, there's fewer people reading certain genre fiction. And number two, there is a massive amount of books available on Amazon. I don't remember the numbers, but I know at one point, and this may have been a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, at one point, there were 10,000 books being submitted to Amazon daily. Now, if that were a year or two ago, imagine what it's like now. Because the inclination is to trend upward. That more people are writing because they find out that, hey, I can do this. Of course, the big question is, should I do this? But that's for another topic for another day. And because of those two things, readers aren't discovering new writers as well as they used to. For example, here's a really good example for you. So Lately, I've been reading a lot of political books and other things like that for various and sundry reasons. And I finished reading a book once, and I thought, you know what? I need to go back and read a horror novel. So I'm on my Kindle, and I go back to the main page, the main store page, and I go to categories. And I look under categories, and lo and behold, there's no horror category anymore. Okay, fine. So I search for horror, and what comes up? A bunch of paranormal romance. I have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll to get to a single actual horror novel. And so we have this deluge of new books being submitted. We have fewer readers reading genre fiction. And we have Amazon doing us absolutely no favors. So you think about those things and all of a sudden it's like, why bother? Why bother? Because it's your art. But here's the thing, and here's where it gets really crucial. Because it has become so much harder to be seen as an author, and because of the various reasons why, it now has become crucial that what you're submitting, what you're putting out there, is as good as it can get. So 5 years ago, like I said before, 5 years ago, people were just cranking out books left and right. As many books as they could, just pump, 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 get as many out as they can. Now, if you do that, not only are you doing your art a disservice, you're doing all writers a disservice, because all of a sudden there's even more books available. So instead of focusing on, like I said before, instead of focusing on quantity, focus on quality. But, and this is where it gets kind of soul-crushing, you almost have to consider this, that every time you release a new book, chances are slim of it getting seen. And so you just have to keep on moving forward. You release that book, and you do whatever you do to promote it, if you do any promotion, because right now promotion is kind of pointless. And that sounds awful, self-defeating. But no matter how much I promote books, they're still just not getting seen. So instead of spending so much time right now on that promotion, spend the time writing a new book. Spend the time learning and improving your craft. Because let's face it, not everybody's craft is on par with one another. Some people are just better at it than others. Some people have that natural gift. I can write a book in my sleep now. I've written almost 40 books. I've gotten to the point where my style and my process is pretty well honed. That doesn't mean, there's always room for improvement. And I know the areas that I need to improve upon. Trust me, I know them. So I'm always trying to work on them. But I can pretty much crank out, like the book I'm writing right now is completely different than anything I've written before. And at first I thought, oh, this is going to be so hard. And then the second I get into it and I get into the groove of it and what the thrust of this story is, all of a sudden it was like, this is easy. And next thing I know, I blink my eyes and I've got 20,000 words written on this book. But for some, it's not quite as easy. And to those people, I would say, take a step back and ask yourself, what makes this hard? Is it the sentence structure? Is it the process of putting together a plot? Is it subplots? Is it characters? Is it dialogue? What challenges you? And when you discover what challenges you, step back again and work on it. And how do you work on it? You write it more. You say, for example, that dialogue is your problem. That's the one Achilles heel that you have. You know that every time you write a book, you tend to avoid dialogue because you know it. When you write it, it sounds kind of stilted. A really good way to work on your dialogue is to write a play, be it a 1-act or a 10-minute play or whatever. Write a play, because the meat of a play is the dialogue. You have dialogue, and you have not description, but you have anything that happens. There is some description, but the play focuses primarily on the dialogue. Any description or blocking is really kind of insignificant to the play, because you're not going to describe the plot of a play. The plot of the play happens by way of dialogue. That is a great way to work on dialogue, or say description is your problem. Say you go back and you read your book, or you get feedback from others, and they say, it's a good plot, but it's so thin. You're not giving me enough to imagine what's happening. Well, then all of a sudden you can like take that 10-minute play or whatever you've written and strip out the dialogue and describe the plot, describe what's happening. You've got to start getting more detail involved in your stories. Your character doesn't just walk into a room. You've got to give the reader some clue as to what the room is about, so they can imagine it. And you don't want to fill in too many blanks. You want to fill in just enough blanks to give the setting a little ambiance, so the readers know, they can picture it in their mind. Because if you just say a character walks into a room, what does that mean? Or what if you say the character walked into a room and the room felt like it was an old barn? It had the old heavy knotted wood of a barn. That gives the reader something more to work with. And it also kind of can help you guide that scene, because they're nice, imagery and such that you can play with. But you got to work on that stuff. For some, writing a book is easy. For some, writing a book is hard. For some, editing a book is really hard, and for some, it's easy. For some, promoting a book is really hard, and for some, promoting a book is really easy. You got to find out what it is that your weakness is, and work on it, and work. Because in the end, when you put all of these pieces together for the creation of your art, as a whole, it's not easy. It is not easy. The most challenging thing most challenging aspect of this thing we call authorship for me is promotion. And it's because that for me, the process of writing a book is where all the joy comes, all the discovery. And once that discovery is done, I feel it's kind of time to move on already. So I have to work very hard to keep myself focused back on that book that I just wrote and continue to promote it. But this isn't easy, and I promise you, it isn't going to get any easier. It's only going to get harder, because more people are going to keep writing. Amazon is not going to do us any favors, and fewer people are going to read for now, and that's cyclical, right? Think about all of the options that we have for entertainment. We have movies, we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Amazon, we have music. We have all these different types of options. And one of the last options a lot of people are going to take is books. And when they want to read a book, considering the environment in which we live right now, a lot of people are turning to biographies, and they're turning to political books because they want to know what's going on in the world. That's great. I think it's absolutely fantastic that people want to know what's going on. But at the same time, they're spending their hard-earned ducats on those books and not our books. Because I'm not writing biographies. I'm certainly not writing. I mean, I did write a political satire, but I'm not writing political books like not Fear and Loathing. That's a completely different book. Fear. I think that's what it's called. And I've read some pretty fascinating political books lately. Right now I'm reading Zucht, which is a book that talks about one person's perspective on kind of what went wrong with Facebook. And he saw that in 2016 something was going wrong, and he approached Zuck and Cheryl and said, this is happening, and nobody would believe him. And lo and behold, he was right. And that's fascinating to me, but it's certainly not genre fiction. And I would love to read more horror, but, finding it on Amazon is not easy. This is just simply not easy. And I'm very fortunate that My Muse, thank you very much, makes the process of writing, or at least makes the process of coming up with ideas, incredibly simple. Because it's just, hey, here's an idea. Boom, here's an idea. Wow, what about this? And so you take what you can, you take those little bits and pieces that are easy, and be thankful for them. And kind of rest on those laurels, as it were. But you cannot sit idly by with all those other parts that are hard and just go, oh, it's hard, maybe I shouldn't do this. Yes, it's hard. It's very hard. And it's not, like I said, it's not going to get any easier. You've got to keep working. And only give up, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, only give up if you've reached your limit, and you have told yourself, this is the best I can do, and I'm not getting anywhere, and all of a sudden you feel no satisfaction in the process. If you don't enjoy the process, then it's time to reevaluate. Because right now, at this point in time, the only joy to be had in being an author is the process. Unless you get lucky. Because luck is a big part of it. That's the one thing I think that every new author needs to hear right out of the gate. That luck plays a bigger role in this than a lot of things. And in some cases, it's the right person reading the right book at the right time. And that person tells another person, and they tell. That's how a lot of these books go viral in the way they do. Sometimes it's a celebrity reads a book and goes and says, goes on Twitter or Instagram or one of their social media platforms and says, hey, I just read this book. You should try it. And then all of a sudden, every fan of theirs is reading this book because they want somehow 6 degrees of separation. They want to have a piece of that celebrity. And they think that they can have a piece of that celebrity by reading the same book. The second Oprah recommends a book, you got to hit. Now, Oprah's not going to recommend any of my books. She might have recommended POTUS had she read it because it's awesome. I'm allowed to say that. That's what we're dealing with. We're at a point in the world where a stroke of luck might be our only chance to find any success. But we have to keep trying. You've got to keep trying. You've got to work. You've got to put in the work. There's no such thing as overnight success. Get that out of your mind and understand that it's going to take years of trying to make this work. But hey, the good thing is we have things like you, Muse, to help us get by in these trying times. Why? Because Muse, you know what? You know what I'm about to say. You're awesome.